start off, I'm going to be making the albondigas or meatballs. I'm going to use 1 pound of ground beef, garlic powder, about a quarter teaspoon, about a tablespoon of chopped cilantro, and caldo de tomate con sabor de pollo, which translates to tomato bouillon with chicken flavoring powder. I'm going to go ahead and just add 1 teaspoon of my bouillon powder into the ground beef. Let's move all that out of the way, and here we go. So just go ahead and toss that into your ground beef. Next, I'm going to add the cilantro, and again, this is about a tablespoon and a half. You can use parsley if you don't like cilantro, but I think cilantro goes well with this recipe. Okay, let's get this out of the way, and then next I'm going to go ahead and toss in the garlic powder, and that again is about a quarter of a teaspoon. Now you can adjust your seasoning, salt, and all that to your taste, but this is a pretty good place to start. I'm going to go ahead and start to mix in the seasonings and cilantro into the ground beef, but another important ingredient that goes into the meatballs, especially when making it the Mexican albondiga style, is I'm adding a half cup of uncooked rice. Yes, you heard that correct. A half cup of uncooked rice, and this you'll see throughout the process, it's gonna cook, but you want to make sure it's uncooked, it's raw, and just go ahead and continue mixing your ground beef. And then I'm gonna speed things up here and just continue until we make our meatballs. Now while I'm mixing, I will add that normally you could add 1 egg per pound of ground beef to bind everything, but my son has egg allergies, so I left that out, and guess what? The meatballs still stay together, so that's something to think about. If you don't have an egg, it's no big deal. And also, if you can't find bouillon powder, salt, pepper, garlic, anything you have will work. Just season your meatballs well. So I'm done rolling out all of our meatballs. I think I have about like 15, 14. So next I'm going to work on the tomato puree, and I'm using the only tomatoes I had in my fridge. So here I'm going to toss into the blender 3 cloves of garlic. I'm going to go ahead and roughly chop up my 2 Roma tomatoes. You can add more if you like. I only had 2. So here we have it. And then also I'm going to use 1 small onion and roughly chop that. And ultimately I'm just going to blend it in the blender. I'm going to add a half a cup of water just to get things moving along so it purees better into the blender. Okay, next I'm going to strain the puree that we just blended. This is optional. If you just toss in the puree as is, it's fine. It's still delicious. I just like to remove any skin and seeds from the tomato. So again, this is optional. You don't have to do this. You can skip this step, but this is what I like to do. Okay, next I have my stock pot. I have a preheated pan with about 2 tablespoons of oil, and I am going to cook down the puree. And this will just help, cook out the raw tomato, onion, garlic, and sort of reduce it to intensify the tomato flavor. You're going to cook it out probably for about 5 to 10 minutes. That's about how long I did it. Just watch it because tomato naturally has, natural sugars in it, so you don't want it to burn. I just tossed in about a half a cup of water just to get some residual puree out of the pan that I strained it in. And also I'm going to put a heaping tablespoon of the bouillon powder. Ultimately, for this whole recipe, I used about 2 tablespoons of bouillon powder to flavor the stock. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes, and as you can see, the color has intensified of our puree. Now I'm going to add roughly 8 cups of water. It's about 1.5 liters of water, and this is going to give us our stock. You want to bring this to a boil, and then we'll add our meatballs. Okay, so now that I have added the meatballs, I'm going to let the meatballs cook for about 25 to 30 minutes. And also, probably about 10 to 15 minutes into the cooking process, you want to skim off any fat and scum or foam on top. This will give you a clearer broth. It'll make the broth a lot cleaner. Ultimately, you want the meatball to float and the rice to bloom, and here we have it. You can see all the rice is bloomed throughout the meatballs, and that is a sign of doneness. Now that the albondigas are done, I am going to serve myself a bowl. Now, I also want to add, there are plenty of albondiga recipes out there. You could add fresh vegetables to your stock, zucchini, cabbage, carrots, potato, corn. But for me, just a nice, flavorful, clean broth and delicious albondigas is just as good. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.